Hi, I'm Jacob Heilbrunn, the editor of the National Interest. I am here today with our executive editor, Harry J. Kazianis. Harry is a frequent commenter, commentator, and pundit on North Korea. Harry, what is Kim Jong-un's game plan?
His game plan, Jacob's actually very clear. I think what's going to happen anytime now, it's Thursday afternoon here in DC, so now basically until sometime Saturday, I think the North Koreans are going to test another ICBM. This one's going to be a little bit different. What they've done the last two times, Jacob, is they've fired these ICBMs, one in July, another one late July, and something called a lofted trajectory. So in other words, what that is basically is you fire a missile and you fire it straight up in the air, then it comes back down. The reason to do that is very simple. You don't want to fly over Japan, you don't want to fly over Russia or another country, and it allows you to test the engines, allows you to test the trajectory, allows you to do a basic test of the system. But the North Koreans are kind of getting bored of that, I think. They need to do something that's probably a little bit more provocative, but I think something that would test it under battlefield conditions. This is what they're going to do. I think they're going to fire the missile, but this time they're going to fire it over Japan and drop it somewhere in the mid-Pacific. That allows them to test the full range of capabilities of the missile. They can test the heat shield, they can test targeting. It's a much more effective test. However, as you could probably guess, that's really provocative. So we'll see what happens, but if I had to put my money in, put my chip somewhere, I think that's what they do.
How do you think Japan would react?
They can't do anything. They can't shoot it down. The Japanese can't shoot down an ICBM.
Why not?
Because you need to have a certain type of missile defense system that can do that. What they have right now is something called PAC-3, which is the old Patriot batteries. If you remember back in the Gulf War, we tried to shoot down Scuds. We didn't do a very good job there. They've developed that system in the last 20, 30 years. It's better, but it can't shoot down something that high up in the atmosphere. The Japanese are working on getting something called Aegis Ashore, which is another missile defense system. Fortunately, that can't take it down. They're thinking about getting THAAD, which is a missile defense system that can take out short-range or medium-range missiles. That can't take out ICBMs. We're the only ones who can do that.
Harry, what about the South Koreans? Where does all of this leave them?
They are just in a bad spot, to be honest with you. But you have to give the South Koreans credit. I mean, this is a crisis they've dealt with for what, since the 1950s? It's obviously gotten a lot worse as the North Koreans have developed WMD, nuclear. They also have 5,000 tons of chemical weapons. They probably have biological weapons. They have over 1,000 missiles that they can rain down on South Korea. So I think they're handling this as best as they can. And I mean, let's face it, in the midst of this whole North Korean challenge, their economy has prospered. I mean, they're one of the leading, telecommunications and electronics giants in the world. So they have prospered in the face of this threat, and I think they're going to continue to do so.
Today it's being reported that the Trump administration is suspending its efforts to either terminate or renegotiate the South Korea free trade deal. Is that a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, we can't be messing around with the free trade agreement. I mean, look, let's face it, the United States economy, what is it worth? 18, 20 trillion dollars. The South Korean economy, I don't know the exact value, but it's many, many times bigger. Of course we're going to run a trade deficit with South Korea. I mean, just go into your pocket. I bet you a lot of people have Samsung phones or, South Korean cars. We're a big market. We buy things. There's going to be trade deficits. I don't know how you go around fixing that. I think it's very hard for the Trump administration, if it's its goal, to try and eliminate trade deficits all over the world. When the Vietnamese leadership came here a couple months ago, that was their goal, to wipe out the $30 billion plus trade deficit with Vietnam. It's going to be very hard to do that. It's just an economies of scale question. You're the big economy, you're a big market, you're going to buy a lot of stuff. And now's the time not to mess with that. We have to focus on the North Korean threat.
Is there a case for a preemptive war on North Korea?
I knew you were going to ask me that. No, there's no, we do not want to have a preemptive war in North Korea. Let me explain to you why. The challenge with a preemptive strike is this. Suppose your goal is to try and take out all of North Korea's nuclear weapons. To do that, what you would need to do is mass a lot of firepower into Northeast Asia. I'm talking aircraft carrier battle groups, attack submarines, SSGNs or missile submarines, more missile defense systems, because the North Koreans are going to respond back. Potentially a troop buildup. That, you're going to see that coming. You can watch that on the news if you want. Kim Jong-un doesn't need satellites or anything like that. That gives Kim Jong-un the incentive to fire first. The North Koreans have talked a lot of times about preemptively attacking nuclear, so you have to deal with that. But let's even say the United States pulls it off. They gather all the forces together and they launch a massive preemptive strike. You have to have a 100% success ratio in taking out every single nuclear weapon. Because if you don't, you know what's going to happen. If you're Kim Jong-un, you know the United States is going to come with a second wave of bombers and B-2s and all this stuff, and he's got to use them or he's got to lose them. So let's say he's got 30 nuclear weapons, we miss 2 of them. You know those nuclear weapons are either going to Tokyo, Seoul, or Los Angeles. So if you're President Trump, are you going to risk 1 million, 2 million dead? No way.
So you're saying an attack on North Korea by the United States would be a pipe dream?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. There's no way. You could be the most basic of military strategists and see this. Anybody who tries to sell you that bill of goods is lying.
On those stark, profound words, we conclude this interview with Harry J. Kazianis of the National Interest.
Thanks, Jacob.